Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on the place where you are from and you're watching us and listening to us from. Today is the day the UN's institutions such as the UN, the OSCE, the United Nations, of course, Africa, the ASEAN, just to name adopted conventions condemning any of discrimination on any race, color, ethnic or social, religion or belief, gender. Oh, I was interrupted. I hope I'm still online. So, states have adopted constitutions banning any form of discrimination. Domestic courts and other national institutions have been charged to correct or to prevent discriminatory situations. International mechanisms, such as supranational courts, have been put in place to redress injustices that were not corrected at the local level. However, despite all these precautions, various forms of systemic discrimination tolerated by states go on persisting to varying degrees, whatever the political system, particularly in the area of freedom of religion or belief, even in democratic countries where there are quite often tier systems of classification of religions used and misused by the states to justify a different but discriminatory treatment of various categories of believers. Most European democracies have legislations that classify religions, whatever the name they give to each category, and grant them or deny them a number of rights and financial advantages. This discriminatory categorization usually starts with the type of legal status to which religious or belief communities are allowed or denied to have access to on the basis of questionable criteria. This is the case for many EU member states, which have inherited from their past a system of relations between state and religion that privileges a specific church or a limited group or religious communities to the detriment of others. For example, in Austria, Belgium, Greece, Hungary, Italy, Poland, Romania, etc., etc. In Austria, for example, the law divides registered religious groups into three officially recognized legal categories. First one, state-recognized religious societies. Second one, religious confessional communities. And third one, civic associations. Moreover, members of religious groups legally recognized may practice their religion at home, and I quote here, insofar as this practice is neither unlawful nor offends common decency, unquote, which means, in fact, they are de facto suspicious, stigmatized. The religious groups of these three categories in Austria do not have the same rights, and it is difficult to move up to an upper category because of all sorts of discriminatory administrative obstacles. 16 religious groups are registered in the upper category. the government grants them, all of them, tax relief in two main ways. Donors do not pay taxes on donations, and the societies receive exemption from property tax for all buildings dedicated to the active practice of religion or administration of such. Contributions to confessional communities' charitable activities are tax deductible for those who make them, and they are tax-free for the groups receiving them. But the communities are not exempt from property taxes. Believers of other religious groups, which are denied access to the status of an upper category, are denied any tax advantages. In Greece, the constitution recognizes the Greek Orthodox Church as the prevailing religion in the country. The other religious communities are categorized in a multi-tiered system which lacks some transparency. Under the privileged Orthodox Church, we have a subcategory of so-called known religions. These are religious groups with at least one valid permit to operate a place of prayer. And they enjoy a tax exemption for property used for religious purposes. There is, however, no publicly available list of known religions, and only the Ministry for Education and Religious Affairs keeps such a registry. All the other religious groups or belief groups have the status of civic associations and do not enjoy tax exemption. Romania. In Romania, the provisions of the law about religion stipulate a three-tiered system of religious classification, with religious denominations at the highest level, followed by religious associations, second level, and religious groups, the most basic level. By law, there are 18 religious organizations recognized as religious denominations, all of which were in existence at the time the law on religion was. For other groups, the situation is much more complicated and also difficult to move up from one category to another category. I will not go into all the details, just briefly. So the level, the upper level, the religious denominations, tier 1, receive tax exemptions on income and buildings used for religious, educational, or other social purposes. Religious associations, tier 2, do not receive government funding and do not have the right to teach religion in public schools, but they receive tax exemptions on income and buildings used for religious purposes. And the last category, tier 3, religious groups, they don't receive either government funding or tax exemption at all. In Belgium, as the last example, a two-tier system is in force for religious and belief communities. State-recognized religions and belief communities, tier 1, and then all the other communities together, tier 2. The government officially recognizes 8 religions, and including Buddhism and humanism. Other religious or belief groups are only non-profit associations and do not have tax exemptions, except Jehovah's Witnesses, who won some cases in Belgian courts, and I will not go into the details. In any hierarchy system that we have just seen in the European Union, in democratic countries in Europe, religious and belief communities that are not state-sanctioned or not in the top categories are denied certain rights and opportunities, including for their clerics and their members. In Belgium, for example, such and to receive state subsidies for wages, pensions, and lodgings of their clergy. they are not permitted to teach their religion in public schools, and consequently, a number of students must take another religious or philosophical, ethical class that is sometimes not compatible with their moments, for example, and that is to the Belgian. And all those second-rank religious groups are in this way stigmatized and presented as harmful cults in quite a number of situations, warned against by state-funded institutions, and consequently, members of such organizations have been reported to be discriminated against at school, by courts, in child custody cases, for example, for access to Belgian nationality, for positions of this was just a situation, but in other countries of the European, it is, except in France, it is only slightly different. Taiwan is also a democratic country, but Taijimen has been discriminated against financially and materially, despite a positive assessment of the last US State Department's annual report on freedom of religion in the country. The accusations of tax fraud were recognized as unfounded by the Supreme Court. After 10 years of legal battles in courts, Dr. Hong was acquitted of all the charges and compensated for being illegally imprisoned for several months. The redress mechanisms failed to fully serve justice. In 2021, the nation's top watchdog body investigating the management of the Taijimen case, and an essential part of their real estate was illegally confiscated by the tax administration a couple of years ago. The US State Department should mention this egregious breach of justice in its next report. And the US authorities should open a dialogue with the authorities in Taiwan in order to find some solution to this catch-22 Taijimen case in Taiwan. At least this is my opinion. And I thank you for your attention. And now we will have another speaker, Marco Respinti.
There is a video, I believe.
Okay. Yeah. So first the video.
And the Ministry of Finance reneged on their promise to revoke the tax bill. The National Tax Bureau is illegally auctioned off the sacred land of Taijimen. The land was illegally taken into state ownership. Where is the royal government officials' conscience? Where are justice and human rights? What is the truth about the Taijimen case? Taiwan Supreme Court found Taijimen not guilty of tax evasion or any other charges. The National Tax Bureau and the Ministry of Finance reneged on their promise to revoke the tax bill. The National Tax Bureau illegally auctioned off the sacred land of Taijimen. The land was illegally taken into state ownership. Where is the royal government officials' conscience? Where are justice and human rights? The righteous people are united with conscience to defend justice, human rights, and peace. The righteous people are united with conscience to defend justice, human rights, and peace.
In Taiwan, we at Little Winter saw at work the Taliban of the National Tax Bureau or Taliban of the Administrative Enforcement Agency. 55-year-long persecution of a peaceful spiritual movement in a democratic country such as Taiwan. The Taijimen case is internationally exemplary and important, and yet we plan to continue our campaign about it. Our voice will not be silenced until the voice of justice will speak and solve the case.
Thank you for the team who prepared such a nice video, wonderful video, combining a very nice music, clear summary of the Taijimen case, and a great voice interpreting this song. And now the next speaker will be Marco Respinti. Yes.
Yes.
He will be presented. Hello?
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
yes. Now I hear you.
Okay, so it's my turn.
The floor is yours.
Yes. Thank you, Willy, for your very important, comprehensive explanation of the value of the United Nations Zero Discrimination Day, and for introducing us once more, very importantly, into the details of the injustice suffered by Taijimen, what we call the Taijimen case. Zero discrimination that we are celebrating today is a concept with a universal application. No individual and no human group should ever be discriminated for whatever reason. It should not, for a simple reason. All human beings have a dignity that derives from human nature, which entitles them to unalienable rights that no power has the right to curtail or deny. No human being can be discriminated simply because we are all human beings. Humanity is the necessary and sufficient reason to forbid and prevent discrimination against fellow women and men. The invaluable preciousness of the concept of zero discrimination is rooted in and defined by the dignity of every human person in all time and all places. Zero discrimination is not a concession graciously granted to a specific individual or a particular group. It does not simply mean tolerating choices, wills, or inclinations. And I already had the opportunity in another webinar to reflect upon the limitation of the concept of mere tolerance. Zero discrimination is the tangible measure of our love for the unsurpassable and irreducible humanity that defines every human being who ever lived on Earth. This is why zero discrimination is all the more important a policy to observe and implement toward those individuals or groups that differ or even are at odds with our choices, wills, and inclinations, or those of whatever organized group we may belong to. Zero discrimination is the material expression of the supreme commandment of love. To love our neighbors as ourselves for their humanity, whoever our neighbors are, wish, do, or hate. It includes loving people who annoy, disturb, or do harm to us, our enemies included. It is in fact not a matter of what the others do or do not do, wish or do not wish, say or do not say, preach or do not preach. It is a matter of who they are, human beings. Both chronologically and logically, who they are precedes what they do, wish, say, or preach. It is human and inherently moral to practice zero discrimination because the value of a human being is something that can never be discriminated against, whatever we think of what an individual or group do, wish, say, or preach. Zero discrimination is then a precious exercise in ascetic, a word that indicates the continuous and constant practice of virtues, and one that every human being needs to perform. It is much more effective when it is applied to those we do not agree with or dislike. For this reason, zero discrimination is also connected to freedom of religion or belief and the Taijimen case. It is normal and easy to love those who belong to our group. We are even prepared to tolerate some trespasses for the sake of friendship and commonality. Much more difficult or even heroic is to love those who belong to a rival group and may harass or persecute us. A serious advocate for freedom of religion or belief, however, should defend the right to believe and the right to truth, which is the substance of religious freedom, even of those who belong to a rival group or harass and persecute. We do not defend their right to harass or persecute, there is no such right, but their right to profess and express their beliefs. Coming to the Taijimen case, the behavior of this spiritual movement after almost 27 years of persecution based on fake news, fabrications, and lies is exemplary. The Shifu or Grandmaster and these disciples of Taijimen suffered and suffer a wide range of abuses, yet they still love their persecutors as human beings. For more than a quarter of a century, they have been harassed by corrupt bureaucrats from some branches of the Taiwanese government, yet they have always been and remain good patriots. They just want to be recognized as good people and freed from the evils that have been vested on them. Their actions, claims, and stubbornness in not accepting easy compromises are aimed at contributing peacefully to building a true democracy in Taiwan, in an area of the world where democracies are rare. There is one seminal reason why it is an inherent part of freedom of religion or belief that no discrimination should be allowed against any individual or group, rivals and persecutors included, while firmly and uncompromisingly demanding justice. And Taizhimen Shifu and Dizzy never discriminated against those who mistreated them, while firmly and uncompromisingly demanding justice. The reason is that even the most evil person should never be discriminated against as a person. It is the evil that human beings perpetrate that should be discriminated against. Probably the most lucid definition of this principle was given by the Roman philosopher Marcus Tullius Cicero. Quote, "For even then he had the light of reason deduced from the nature of things that incites to good actions and dissuades from evil ones. And this has the force of a law, not from the time it was written, but from the first moment it began to exist. Now, this existence of moral obligation is co-eternal with that of the divine mind. Therefore, the true and supreme law, whose commands and prohibitions are equally infallible, is the right reason of the sovereign deity." End of quote. So the only reality we should discriminate against is evil. On the UN Zero Discrimination Day today, this is my proposal for a greater understanding of the peculiar concept that gives its name to this day of observance. Zero discrimination should serve as a general framework for all cases, with the presumption of being universal, therefore valid always and everywhere for any individual or any human group. Thank you.
Willie?
Yes. Okay. No, I didn't hear the end of his speech. There was a technical problem. Okay. So thank you very much, Marco. Disturbances with internet, you each, especially at the end. And now I will give the floor to Massimo Introvigne from the CESNUR, that is known all over the world for his work to defend new religions. He is the founder of CESNUR and the editor-in-chief of Bitter Winter magazine. The floor is yours.
Thank you. And can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't see myself, but it's not important. I keep seeing
Yes.
Willie in the main screen. Peter?
Yes. Okay.
I still see Willie, but I will start anyway. United Nations Days of Observance are in the calendar because somebody proposed them. And the Zero Discrimination Day was promoted by LGBT organizations and others living with AIDS who felt discriminated. But the UN days then take a life of their own, And Zero Discrimination Day has been in recent times used to advocate for a wide variety of causes. However, I would like to return to the original connection of Zero Discrimination Day and the right of homosexual persons not to be discriminated or worse, beaten and killed. I believe that these rights should be reaffirmed today when violence against homosexual persons is becoming systematic in two countries that have in general an abysmally low human rights record, Russia and Iran. I admire the capability of the LGBT community to mobilize when their rights are violated in one country. There is no doubt that they were successful in making their case heard internationally. We who work in the field of freedom of religion or belief should both learn from them and candidly acknowledge that we have been somewhat less successful. And I will illustrate it with what I call a tale of two COVIDs, not a tale of two cities, a tale of two COVIDs. And it is an example from South Korea. In 2020, two quite politically liberal South Korean scholars, Joseph Yi and Lee Won-dong, analyzed what they call the pandemic nationalist that developed in their country and led the government, because of the COVID panic, to infringe on the civil liberties and to massive human rights violations. Initially, the Korean model for handling the COVID was praised internationally, but the two scholars noted that, quote, the praise of the South Korean model subsided in May 2020, replaced by an increasing number of articles on its human rights cost. Now, what happened in May 2020? A cluster of COVID-19 infections was discovered in an area of Itaewon in Seoul, which hosts bars and saunas for gay men. This led the health authorities to what was a second attempt to gather names and addresses of members of a community. The first one had involved Shincheonji, a new religious movement that has been accused of spreading the plague after a misdiagnosed member had infected many co-religionists. In this second attempt of gathering all the names of the members of a community, names were asked of all the male gay community in Seoul. And some media and politicians publish derogatory remarks depicting all homosexuals as ignoring preventive measures against COVID. Just as in the case of Shincheonji, the accusations were false. In the case of Shincheonji, Korean judges up to the Supreme Court later found Shincheonji not guilty of any COVID-related violations of law, and even the judges praised the anti-COVID measures Shincheonji had taken. Ji and Lee find similarities as well as differences in the COVID-related human rights violations against Shincheonji and against the Seoul gay community. In both cases, they write, unconventional religious or sexual minorities were targeting, connecting COVID-19, which was depicted in the media as, quote, immoral behavior that defied Korean national interest. However, there was also a difference, they note. The LGBT community was able to immediately mobilize international human rights groups, which persuaded in a few days foreign governments to protest, and the South Korean authorities, although not all media, had to back off. In contrast, the two scholars note, Shin Cheon-ji remained the most vilified group during the pandemic. As Ji and Lee note, quote, international scholars of new religious movements, most of them associated with Chesnur, did protest the violation of human rights of Shin Cheon-ji members and got the attention of USCRF in the United States and some media, including the New York Times, which somewhat revised its initial coverage based on the cult frame of the Korean media. Overall, however, Shin Cheon-ji, the two scholars write, failed to receive the strong, sympathetic gaze from Western media and government that greatly benefited the Seoul LGBT community when it came under attack. With few exceptions, Shin Cheon-ji continued to be depicted as a harmful cult, with the implication that guilty or perhaps not guilty, it deserved what has been done to it. In this story, I believe, there is an important lesson and one relevant for the Taiji-men case as well. Freedom of religion or belief, FORB, is a fundamental human right. However, when it comes to its coverage in international media and the mobilization of international organizations, FORB often appears to be the Cinderella of human rights. This is the fault of an international media system that is not sympathetic, to say the least, to religion and spirituality. And this is the fault of decades of anti-religious campaigns that have targeted particularly the groups stigmatized as cults. But it is also our fault. All of us did a lot to promote FORB, but obviously something is still missing. The Taiji-men case is further evidence of this. If you Google the human rights issues in Taiwan, you will find that the Taiji-men case is mentioned, thanks in particularly to the coverage of Bitter Winter. However, most articles about human rights in Taiwan, other than ours, mostly and sometimes only mention problems connected with foreign workers, particularly foreign fishermen aboard the Taiwanese vessels. Of course, the human rights of these foreign workers and Indonesian fishermen should be protected, but all of us who have studied the Taiji-men case know that it's one of the most blatant violations of human rights in Taiwan. And we also know that there are gross violations of the human rights of taxpayers in general. So Google itself shows that we did a lot, but it also shows we should do more. It is a Taiwanese problem, as the country should not ignore FORB and taxpayers' rights problems, and it is also an international problem. We should all work to make FORB from the Cinderella, when it is in international media, the princess she deserves to be. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Massimo, for this very interesting presentation and your comparison with the advocacy of LGBT people and what more should be done by us to be more efficient. And now I will give the floor to Alessandro Amicarelli. Yes, president of the European Federation for Freedom of Belief. The floor is yours, Alex.
Thank you very much, Willie. Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone, wherever you are connected, as we always say. Yes, today we celebrate this important day against discrimination against everyone as the UN Day Anti-Discrimination. As Willie said in his presentation, there are a number of countries where there are issues of violation of freedom of religion and belief all over the world, not only in a part of the world, but everywhere. And as Marco said, and I totally agree with him, we must focus on the importance of humanity when we approach cases of violation of freedom of religion and belief. Not only we need to show humanity towards the victims, but also towards the perpetrators. This is totally agreeable upon, and this also means that we must request that legal procedures against the perpetrators must be started, of course, observing and in compliance with all the human rights principles and guarantees for the perpetrators, but there must be legal cases against them. All those who caused harm and keep causing harm to Taijimen as a group and to members of Taijimen must be prosecuted, and justice must be affirmed in Taiwan, like everywhere else. Otherwise, even if all lands are returned to Taijimen, justice will not be accomplished, as not only victims must be compensated, but also persecutors must be prosecuted, and if found guilty, must pay for their mistakes. Cases of this kind happen all over the world. We can say from France to Japan and everywhere else. We have experienced, we have witnessed, we have spoken about cases of discrimination against minority groups in many different countries. Let's not forget, for instance, the attempt of France to destroy Scientology, to destroy the Jehovah's Witnesses, in the same way they were outlawed in Russia. France tried to limit freedom of religion, freedom of religious expression in public places, denying the right to wear religious symbols in public places. That was a big fight happening in the parliament of France, pushed by the government of that country. In recent years, they tried to limit the activities of the big Muslim communities of France by means of an illiberal bill on separatism. The same problems are now happening in France, where following the killing of Shinzo Abe, accusing of being too close to the unification movement of Korea, which is stigmatized as a cult, Japan is now trying to introduce limitations to the rights of parents to educate and raise their children according to their own beliefs. This is completely insane, and as human rights advocates, all of us, we must really pause our attention on these problems also in Japan. So we see that our commitment, our human rights work is much needed, and this is in line with what I recently called in DC a tsunami of love for freedom. We all must work together. People from different faiths, from no faiths, from all groups. Massimo mentioned LGBT. All the people should be working together, because humanity is something relating to everyone. And as in every webinar, as in every conference, in every meeting where we talk about the Taijimen case, we know that testimonies play a very important role in this case, as witnesses give a very clear idea of what persecution is all about and what persecution means for single individuals of Taichi men and their families. Without further ado, I will now give the floor to the first DZ. So the first
video.
Oh, we have a video first. Yes, we have a
Yes.
video. We have a new video, and then we move on with the witnesses. Please, let's watch the video.
My name is Yu Sanen. I am the Special Envoy of International Relations to United Nations for the Council for Justice, Equality, and Peace, Vice President for Global Organization for Sustainable Development accredited at the UN. I'm also the Global Ambassador for the Foundation for a Drug-Free World. We are in more than 126 countries in the world, and I'm also a humanitarian, and I have traveled for over 25 years to many countries in the world, advocating for peace, human rights, and religion freedom. Today, it may seem surprising to inform you that there are more than 10,000 religions in the world. And as the world just turned to 8 billion people, there are about 6 billion believers in the world. But yet, 80% of the world population live in countries where there are high levels of restriction on religion, where human rights are violated. We discover discrimination, harassment, and cynical abuse against religion groups, both by governments and individuals, in more than 185 countries in the world. And the latest data show that 56 countries, including Japan, China, Russia, Egypt, India, continue to target and to persecute the religious community and impose very high level of restriction to them. Buddhists, Hindu, Taichi men, Christian, Muslim, Buddhists have been killed and destroyed in churches, mosques, and synagogue. It is very, very bad. We've watched their belonging, their premises being destroyed. This is a violation to human rights. This has to stop. And today, I call for freedom. Today, I call for justice. Today, I call for reparation for the religious community. And today, together, we are going to empower ourselves to fight this war. And with God in our side, I believe we will win this fight. And in return, Dr. Hong, Dr. Moon, and all those religious leaders will smile back, and God and the whole world will triumph. According to the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution and Article 18 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, adopted in 1948 by United Nations, every person, everywhere has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religious and belief. But despite of all this law, despite of all protective law, Marxist, communist ideology, cultural imperialists continue to oppress and have particularly hostile to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. Therefore, it is essential for all world leaders, all state, all faith-based leaders, and influential actors at every level in our society to stand up to all excitement, to hatred, and to fight against discrimination, hostility, cynical abuse, and violation towards religion. Today, I want to acknowledge and to condemn the 25 or to 26 years of violation of human rights and religious freedom against the Taiji men. December 19, 1996 was a very bad, a very sad day and a very painful day for the Taiji men. This year, 2023, marks 27 years since this peaceful spiritual group was persecuted for political reasons based on unjustified lies and unjustified suspicion, led by a violent raid by hundreds of armed police. In that unlawful attack, 12 Taiji men academy were raided, as well as private house of Dizzy. Also, during this raid, members of the Taiji group were arrested, including the Grandmaster, Dr. Hong, who spent more than 16 days in prison. So today, I want to say this is wrong. This is a violation of human rights. So on behalf of the Foundation for a Drug-Free World, on behalf of COGEB International, I denounce this abuse of state power towards Dr. Hong, the Taiji man, which has a terrible impact on his current and his future situation. Dr. Hong is a wise man, and no matter how many countries he has visited, no matter how many world leaders he has met, no matter how many disciples that he has in the world, he remains a humble man. In this summit, Dr. Wong was so busy, but I was so shocked, I was so surprised. Yesterday, he spent more than 3 hours with me and my wife to teach us from his heart the Taiji philosophy, the Taiji language. You do not have to speak, even though you may silence your spirit, your word, your action. We speak for yourself. He's a strong man. He's been on this war for over 27 years. We need to stand with him. We need to make this fight our fight. We need to give our life, our money, our time, and stand beside him. And when we win this war, Dr. Hong will smile because he got this nice smile, a smile of hope. So let us stand together for the Taiji men to be strong again. Thank you very much. May God bless you. My name is Yu Sanen, and I approve this message. Thank you very much.
So sorry, Alex, but I will have to leave the meeting, as in half an hour we have a roundtable on freedom of religion or belief at the press club here in Brussels. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Yeah, enjoy the next part, the next session. Usually I was introducing the disease. It was always a pleasure. Now the pleasure is yours.
Merci.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And after this lovely video with Mr. Yug, we can now move on with the DZ, and the first DZ being Miss Ting Tsai Shah, who is a member of Taiji Man and a Reiki person. Yeah, please.
主持人、线上朋友们，大家好。
Hello, everyone. I am honored to be invited to participate in the United Nations Zero Discrimination Day online forum on March 1st. Today, I'll discuss discrimination arising from the Taiji men fabricated case and how to eliminate discrimination using my own experience as an example. Taiji men is a place where one can practice holistic wellness and cultivate one's body, mind, and soul. The Dizzy follow Shifu to practice Qigong, and to learn Yin and Yang wisdom. We are a big energy family. I joined Taiji men in 1993 on the recommendation of my sister. I never imagined that after practicing Qigong, my chronic pelvic inflammatory condition, which had tormented me for 9 years, would soon be cured. Out of appreciation and joy, I encouraged my family to join Tai Chi Men, and we enjoyed ourselves together in harmony. But since that day, December 19, 1996, our happy days were destroyed completely. The prosecutor, Ho Quan Zhen, used the name of religious crackdown as a pretext to purge Tai Chi Men, and continued to disclose false information to the media, resulting in more than 400 consecutive false news reports and more than 70 broadcasts on 12 TV stations, causing the public to have a negative perception of Tai Chi Men. Furthermore, without any evidence, Ho Quan Zhen prosecuted my Shifu on trumped-up charges such as fraud, raising goblins, and tax evasion. My father, who has loved me dearly since I was a child, became extremely concerned and terrified due to the widespread stigmatization of Tai Chi Men in the media, and he tried to discourage me from practicing Qigong. He asked me and my younger sisters to return home, and said to me, "You are the eldest sister. It is your responsibility to take your sisters away from Tai Chi Men. The Tai Chi Men uniform should also be burned because when your son grows up and sees it, he will recall the terrible mistake you made by joining Tai Chi Men. Stop visiting the Tai Chi Men Academy." I was living with my in-laws at that time. After the Tai Chi Men incident, during the chilly winter, my mother-in-law frequently turned off the boiler while I was taking a shower, denying me access to hot water. My mother-in-law's repeated behavior finally made me realize that her anger came from the fact that I had taken my family to Tai Chi Men to practice Qigong. Whenever I came home from grocery shopping, my in-laws would wait at the door to carefully inspect the items I brought home, not bothering to show their displeasure with me. My mother-in-law even said that the tea I drank must have been enchanted by Tai Chi Men Shifu, which is why I became delusional and held such strong beliefs in Tai Chi Men. I was so scared that I didn't know what to do with my life. I often woke up in the middle of the night in fear and began to think about running away from home. But in the end, I had nowhere to go but to hide in my room and cry when my heart was in the most pain. I learned to comfort myself, thinking that I was lucky to have my Shifu who taught me wisdom. So I was willing to forgive those who hurt me. I knew that my mother-in-law's intention was to protect her family, but she didn't know that what she did to me was great hurt and torture. I am thankful that my Shifu has been teaching his Dizzy to face the state persecution with love, patience, peace, and heart. I have also used such thoughts to face the discrimination imposed on me by my mother's family and my in-laws. As the saying goes, just as distance tests a horse's strength, time can reveal a person's heart. Tai Chi Men Shifu and Dizzy have traveled around the world to do cultural exchanges, to visit and invite the wise leaders to ring the bell of world peace and love, and to make wishes for love and peace. We hope the world will no longer suffer from persecution and discrimination. The Tai Chi Men's glory and achievements over the years finally made my family reacquaint themselves with Tai Chi Men, and even the elders apologized to me before they passed away. This not only removed the regrets in my life, but also healed the pain and suffering in my heart. As the saying goes, Shifu for a day is a father for a lifetime. I have been deeply influenced by my Shifu's teaching, his example, his words, and his unspoken teachings. I strongly agree with his words in his message for the United Nations Zero Discrimination Day in 2022. Misunderstanding and prejudice are the source of discrimination. I am grateful that I was not defeated by discrimination, and that I determined to continue practicing Qigong at Tai Chi Men Academy so that I have learned how to deal with and eliminate state discrimination and family discrimination. I'll sum up by saying that cultural rights are fundamental human rights. The International Covenants on Human Rights explicitly prohibit cultural discrimination. Article 22 of Taiwan's constitution also stipulates that the people's right to freedom shall be protected. And Article 166 stipulates the basic state policy of protecting culture. Article 15 of the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights stipulates that cultural groups should have their own way of life and beliefs, as well as the belief in the transmission of national culture, without violating universal values. Cultural organizations need to be subsidized and supported by the state. Government agencies should respect every cultural or health promotion organization, allowing them to freely choose their mode of operation or transmission, and should not violate the neutrality of taxation. Nor should they be forced to change by misinterpreting taxation laws, nor should they be treated unequally. The invaluable dedication of Taiji Men Shifu and Dizzy, who have been committed to cultural transmission and preservation, has been misrepresented by Taiwan's National Taxation Bureau as a commercial trade-off. Such action would essentially stifle culture's vitality, violate the right to a cultural life protected by the international covenants, and undermine the fundamental constitutional principle of preserving culture. I sincerely hope that the government will implement zero discrimination against Taiji men and vindicate the fabricated Taiji men case as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Ms. Ding Tsai Sha. We really hope that the government will be taking action very soon in regards to the violation of the human rights of Taiji men as a group and the violations which have happened for the last 27 years against single individuals and families. Next testimonies is witness is Ms. Annie Lu, legal supervisor, AI trainer, and a member of Taiji Men. Please, Annie, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I studied in financial and economic law, and I'm currently a legal practitioner. I'm glad to be able to take part in today's online forum of the United Nations Zero Discrimination Day today. I hope that through everyone's sharing and efforts, any form of discrimination in the world can be erased. When discrimination is eliminated, conflicts will be reduced and people will be equal, respecting and appreciating one another. Today, I would like to discuss the discrimination caused by an imperfect legal and taxation system, as well as the resulting human rights issues. Recently, I took on a personal tax consulting case. The client, Ms. Liu, is in her 30s. She used to run online auction about 15 years ago. She did not know how to register for business in the first half of the year because she was unfamiliar with the law at that time. Unexpectedly, after completing her business registration, the National Taxation Bureau in Taiwan immediately pursued the unregistered tax from her, calculating the tax payable to be 180,000 new Taiwan dollars. Ms. Liu thought the calculated tax was unfair and went to the tax collector to explain it. But the IRS told her, "You old trading person, don't think I haven't noticed." Ms. Liu had no choice but to ask the commissioner if she could pay in installment because her savings at the time were insufficient to cover the tax. The commissioner refused and demanded that she borrow money elsewhere, resulting in the forced execution of the tens of thousands of NT dollars remaining in her account. As a result, she was unable to pay for the online auction goods and rent, and the operation of the online auction completely stopped. Ms. Liu could only make a living after that by working temporarily and receiving cash. because if she want to work in a general company, her salary would be withheld forcibly, and she could not open a bank account or deposit money like ordinary people. Ms. Liu received a notice of enforcement from the Administration Enforcement Agency 15 years later. Ms. Liu described it to me as a double hell after the 180,000 new Taiwan dollars tax plus interest. Surprisingly, the IRS told her this time that I will let you pay in installments. This made Ms. Liu feel extremely cheated. The IRS assessed a large amount of taxes without evidence 15 years ago. The idea of paying in installments was rejected, and now that the tax has doubled, the IRS has suddenly said that payment in installments is possible. Ms. Liu's 20s and 30s should have been a useful period in which she could explore, learn, gain experience, and save in a variety of ways, but due to an incorrect tax bill, her youthful years turned into bubbles. She was first discriminated against by Internal Revenue Service officials, presumptions that you all have to pay in person, and she was burdened with tax arrears far beyond her ability to pay. She was later discriminated against a second time during her job search. For example, she once applied for a job at a coffee shop she really liked, but the accountant there advised the boss not to hire her because her tax arrears would make the accounting work difficult. Finally, she was not admitted smoothly. I can't believe that a public power violation of the law can cause such severe harm. I went to Taijumen to practice Qigong in 2011. I discovered that people with bad intentions attempt to destroy Taijumen by exploiting discrimination in Taiwan's legal and taxation systems through a case study of Taijumen case in domestic and international forums. Prosecutor Hou Kuan-ren used the media to make false accusations against Taijumen Shifu and Dizi, accusing us for fraud, tax evasion, and having a ghost child. Many Taijumen Dizi was discriminated against at the time by relatives, friends, and the general public. It also led to those who wanted to practice Qigong to think they were doing it wrongfully. However, I never expected that many years later, when I taught my peers about the features of Taijumen, I would still be questioned. The false negative reports were still available on the internet, and the new generation of young people's understanding of Taijumen was also influenced by them. What a terrible media effect. In 2020, I bravely participated in a petition protest and did street publicity during the holidays. I began by making passersby smile and then shared with them the problems of Taiwan's legal and taxation systems based on my expertise and knowledge. However, when I share legal and tax knowledge, people listen and give positive feedback. But when it comes to Taijumen, many people cast strange looks or refuse to accept any information. Faced with these real-life feedbacks, I was surprised to discover that the media was misled by prosecutor Hou Kuan-ren 27 years ago and published a series of discriminatory reports in Taijumen, and the damage has not been repaired. As a result, I volunteer as social media manager on a Facebook page, telling people about correct legal and tax knowledge, helping the audience in distinguishing the truth from fake news. and correcting everyone's negative and incorrect impression of Taiji men. I respect and love my Shifu very much. He insisted on doing the right thing, which deeply moved me. He used his life to defend justice, or rather, the principles of heaven and conscience. He allowed me to break through and speak up for justice. I believe that if everyone could be like Shifu, the world would be a better place. I think it is very important to persist in doing the right thing. Otherwise, when people face difficulties, they may ignore their conscience and accept for small favors from others, which may encourage a bad system or atmosphere. It's like a drowning person grabbing for driftwood without considering whether the driftwood he's holding to is life-saving or harmful. Finally, I sincerely hope that the Taiji Man case will be rehabilitated as soon as possible, so that everyone can properly understand Taiji Man and have the opportunity to come to Taiji Man to find themselves, regain their smile, health, and happiness, just like I did. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Annie, for your moving testimony. And that's true what you said, that there is lots of data in internet. So until a few years back, when people were going online, would only find stereotyping content about Taiji Man. Now, after all the work that has been done, people can go online and enjoy lots of videos, PDF, and all kind of positive content, critical content, reporting about the real facts about Taiji Man case. So also what you did in terms of social media, trying to help, is something very good, and everyone should be letting people know that there is a website specific on the Taiji Man case with the huge encyclopedia of content on the Taiji Man case. Thank you very much again. Next witness is Miss Vivi Lee, who is a university student and a member of Taiji Man. Please, Vivi, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm Vivi, a sophomore at National Taiwan Normal University, and I'm delighted to be able to take part in today's forum because the theme of International Day of Zero Discrimination connects strongly with me. Discrimination is easily found in various group settings, especially appearing in school. When I was in middle school, there was an issue of exclusion in my class. For the sake of narration, I'll give the main character the nickname Cutie. Cutie was very introverted and would easily cry when faced with small setbacks, like having difficulty threading a needle for a home economics class. As a result, Cutie had no friends in class and was always alone. Other people would make private jokes about the Cutie's figure or personality. Although I didn't join, I acted as a spectator and did nothing, not daring to speak up. I was concerned that by assisting her, I would lose all of my friends and would be too abrupt to speak up for her. However, as a Taiji Man Dizi, there is a rule of helping people in the road in our door rules, but I did not fulfill the duty of a Taiji Man Dizi in my own life, which made my conscience uneasy. Day after day, until I was coincidentally in the same group with Cutie. During the time of being together, I often cared for her in secret, hoping that her days at school wouldn't be too painful, which was the only thing I could do at the time, not being brave enough. What moved me was that on the eve of graduation, I received her thank you card. Realizing that QT had received my kindness taught me that I should be brave to do the right thing. In the future, I shall be braver when facing discrimination. Time flies, and now I'm a college student with more freedom and power to contribute to society. Last November, I went to India as a full power volunteer to attend the National Grand Justice Conference, promoting the importance of love and peace in the grand meeting. Despite having read about the caste system in textbooks and it had already been abolished in their laws, I was still greatly shocked when I went to the local spot. The first and most profound thing was the severe wealth gap. On the bus, I saw the local scenery with slums and skyscrapers side by side. Although both kinds of people live in the same city, it was as if they live in totally different worlds. What is more touching is the educational gap. All the time, we take compulsory education for granted in Taiwan. And education is a basic right of human. However, when we arrive at a local place, we find that it is not the case. Many waiters or waitresses cannot even understand basic English words, while the children in private school already acquired fluent English. From seeing so much inequality exist in the world so naturally, I immediately made a wish that in the following days in India, I should courageously spread kindness, not only to the Supreme Court in the meeting, but to everyone I meet, even if it's just a bright smile or just inviting them to sign the World Wishing Day Declaration. I hope that the small kindness I give them can be amplified through the butterfly effect, affecting their moods every day, and even make their lives better, and can continue to spread so that the people around them can also become better. Besides India, I have also been to Turkey, so I have a special concern for the recent earthquake disaster in Turkey. What caught my attention was that there were many buildings that did not meet the seismic regulations. The government would pardon these buildings every few years, allowing the builders to pay a fine and not have to rebuild. Faced with more than half of the nation's buildings, about 13 million apartments not meeting the regulations, journalist Sela Sanger said that pardoning unlawful buildings in the country torn by fault lines is a crime. Why do I feel particularly strongly about this issue? Because it involves the government not governing in good faith, just like the officials in Taiwan not executing their duties in good faith. Here, I want to particularly talk about a landmark case of human rights abuse in Taiwan, the Taijimen case. Taijimen is a Qigong martial arts practice group that conveys love and peace. When we encountered illegal tax bills of abuse of power, we did not choose to endure and compromise, but to speak up for justice and fairness. List fake copying is very important. Maybe some people think that some illegal tax bills can be settled by paying a few dozen or tens of thousands of dollars. It is not worth the effort to pursue justice and fairness. But this is not a matter of money. It's about paying taxes for illegal that imprison the country in an illegitimate democracy. From an economic perspective, long-term neglect of the tax bureau's harassment of taxpayers will have a great negative impact on the whole country. If illegal taxes are imposed on foreign companies, it will let foreign capital fed out. Hantan, Giordano, Bossini, and Bolano, 4 Hong Kong corporations, were subject to hundreds of millions of dollars in legal tax bills, causing them to reduce their scale, even close hundreds of stores and exit from Taiwan, resulting in the loss of thousands of jobs. If legal taxes are imposed on small and medium-sized enterprises in Taiwan, they will find it difficult to survive, resulting in low wages and declining international competitiveness, and a large number of talents will flow out. All of this has made Taiwan the country with the lowest fertility rate in the world, and various social and national security issues will also appear. We are all Taiwanese, including tax officers and government officials. We are all on the same boat. If we don't work together to bravely stand up and end the discrimination in Taiwan's taxation and other forms of discrimination in life, one day we will all sink together. When zero discrimination starts from individuals and affects the group and even the country, then countries put aside their prejudices towards each other. World peace will no longer be a dream. Let us all start with our conscience and use love to unlock discrimination and create peace. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vivi, and we strongly agree with you that we need to stress and focus on these principles. Thank you again. Next speaker, next testimony is by Mr. Sam Cho. Sam Cho is project manager in technology industry and a member of Taijimen. Please, Sam, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sam. I'm currently the project manager of a technology company. I'm honored to participate in online forum of the United Nations Zero Discrimination Day. People often make intuitive judgment based on their own life experience, which is called a stereotype. And they may also have bias due to different people and experience. On being influenced by mainstream culture images, though, if the matter were to be taken to its logical conclusion, what would happen? If a government agency intentionally produces a lot of incorrect material with the object to prejudice against a particular person or group. Furthermore, the public power of a government to make it simple for misleading information to calculate extensively through the media, it is definitely increase the risk of human rights violations. I can speak from personal experience when it comes to being the victim of misleading information leading to discrimination. Looking back on how my family and friends first introduced me to Taijimen 10 years ago, I looked for related news on the internet out of interesting and found numerous legal, fiscal, and other issues. As a result, I proceed back and question my family and friends there. However, later on, I discovered that Taizhimen was a good site full of excellent energy and self-cultivation when I went to the Taizhimen Academy personally. I feel like the brothers and sisters, they were friendly and sincere. The issue with raising governing fraud and the tax evasion reported in the media and online confused me because they are quite different from how I felt. I nearly lost out on a valuable opportunity due to inaccurate information. I believe my own example has best illustrated how to overcome stereotypes. That is, only by truly understanding. As the proverb goes, curiosity killed the cat. I once misinterpreted Taizhimen and come close to not being able to become a thief because my interest at first. Yet, thankfully, it is also my curiosity that brought me to Taizhimen. My older sister joined Taizhimen in US and improved both physically and mentally. She was later aware of our mother's poor health and wished my mom could visit Taizhimen as well in order to practice Qigong. My willingness to go at the beginning was not that high because I was skeptical. Yet, I saw the significant change after I visited to Taizhimen. Together with the delight that was evident on their face, their family bond also got better in such a short period of time. I was pretty curious about Taizhimen. I want to see what magic it has. My family was so different in such a short amount of time, and such a transformation has affected the whole family atmosphere. I therefore went to academy personally and thankfully. I eventually learned the truth. After that, I have the opportunity to study martial arts. In addition, I improved my relationship with my family, found joy, and won their affection again. To me, they are two distinct levels of discrimination Taizhimen has experienced. One is discrimination and the type of the crime, which refer to people's deliberate effort to undermine Taizhimen, including all crimes, unlawful detention, unjust prosecution, use the media to defame and influence the public, Cambridge of Inquiry Justice as a whole was having an interview for the TV program. He was asked how he had known that Taizhimen was governing. The answer was in fact without evidence. He responds that his assumption was from the shadow of Dr. Hong's eyes. This reply was ridiculed in judiciary and also prejudiced with discrimination. Another level is fabricated discrimination, which includes the fact that other religious and the martial arts group have never been taxed for red developers submitted by their disciples to their masters, whereas Taizhimen was subject to sky-high taxes and therefore it probably was illegal nationalized. Even those who want to assist in defending the Taizhimen case in the first government, the government and the Five Code are consistently decided not to handle or support this matter. The mainstream media fail to report to Taizhimen related activity or contribution. The government, including the police, even work with the undercover gangster to pick up support of Taizhimen case. The overall even serious human attitude and affected life of thieves in their workplace or at home. But as a professional, Massimo interview stay in the film. Authoritarian corrupt bureaucrats attempt to destroy Taizhimen because they were afraid of Taijiman leaders who dare to think independently and follow their conscience. Professor Chen Zhirong, chairman of Taiwan Institute of Finance, Economics, and Criminal Law Research, also stated that although Taiwan has transitioned from authoritarianism to disability, it has not gone through the bloody People's Revolution, though Taiwan appears to be a democratic country. But there still exists an authoritarian legacy as a result. The redress tax that Taijiman took is effective means a sixth government reform. Very cultural way, the Harvard University political science collaborated with Maria Stephen, the ICNC researcher, to conduct an in-depth study of the literature on peaceful resistance and the social movement from 1900 to 2006. In the 25th study, nonviolent movements has traced the success rate of the among movement in large-scale movements, and 53% of non-violent movements has resulted in political change. Indicate peaceful protests are not only moral choice, but also the most powerful means change world politics. I actively participate in various activities such as forums today, because it is my duty as a Taijiman lead to clear up this unfair and misleading situation. I could devote my time to other options. I want to participate in a news interview, and by season of the opportunity, I was able to launch World People's Daily and host dozens of national online lectures. After work, being able to volunteer for the defense of the human rights, eradicating prejudices and misunderstandings, and gain unexpected joy. Try work and study has faith, as hating games and enjoy. Myself said, I discovered interesting and fun facts while working as an anchor and program host. So I don't get tired even if I worked with the mentor until the early hours on the morning. Myself frequently mentioned that we all have a vocation, a same mission in our life. We were duped by the media in the past, but now we can work as journalists to have our own programs that break down societal prejudices. To me, this appears to be God's will. Today, I hope everyone can be brave and adhere to the truth, no matter what their identities. They must bravely face social prejudice in order to break discrimination and help society and the world become better. I'm delighted to share my experience and understanding with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your testimony, Sam. And certainly the media, the responsibility of the media in cases of persecution is very important, because media in the community should try and stress the importance of harmony in the community, in the different communities, in the wider community. But at times, the media's responsibility is the opposite. They stress and emphasize the negative, the stigma, and the stereotyping of groups. This happened with Taijiman and with other groups as well. And in this regard, I would suggest a presentation made by our friend Peter Zorer in the seminar on Taijiman in Washington, D.C. recently, which is available online. Thank you again, Sam. And we have now final presentation, Ms. April Liu, account manager at the advertising agency and Taijiman DC. Please, Ms. April, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is April, and I currently work at the Digital Media Agency. I am very honored to participate in the Zero Discrimination Day Forum. In recent years, the world has somehow become more chaotic. causing people anxiety. In addition, with the popularity of social media, negative messages and energy spread more rapidly. When people are uneasy, it is not easy to distinguish right from wrong, often resulting in mutual misunderstandings between positions, races, countries, religions, and cultures, leading to discrimination and causing many conflicts. Since I was young, I followed my Shifu, Dr. Hong Daozi, the Zhangmenren of Taijimen, to learn the wisdom of yin and yang. I have also followed Shifu to share the culture of Taijimen and spread the message of love and peace around the world. In today's world, the importance of love and peace is even more evident. Therefore, I would love to share the precious aspects of Taijimen culture today. I believe the key to achieve zero discrimination is mutual respect. In Taijimen, we treat one another equally. There is no difference based on age, gender, or seniority. Everyone is referred to brothers and sisters, and there's no senior or junior brothers and sisters. For example, greeting is one of the most basic practices. When one becomes a Taijimen Dizi, Shifu teaches us to greet one another with sending well wishes and joy. Therefore, in Taijimen, everyone wears the same uniform, regardless of age, gender, occupation, religion, or nationality. We all greet each other with the same sincere and joyful heart. When one steps into the academy, you can feel the harmonious atmosphere. Another form of respect in Taijimen is honor Shifu and esteem truth. Only when Dizi takes action by practicing can one understand the skills that Shifu wants to pass on. For instance, I had the privilege of participating in the execution of our traditional acceptance ceremony, helping to ensure the entire ceremony proceeded smoothly. One time, a sister told us a story to help us understand the origins of these ancient rituals, which gave me a deeper understanding of the master-disciple culture. She said, in the past, if someone wanted to find a master to learn from, they have to travel from village to village or sometimes climb over mountains one after another to ask around before they have a chance to find one. And when this person finally arrived at the foot of the mountain where the master resides, one of the master's disciples would inform the master that someone wants to become a disciple. As the person climbed halfway up the mountain, a disciple will come and greet them. Upon entering the academy, the person would be taken to the front hall, where they would be told what they needed to know before being accepted as a disciple. After confirming that they truly want to become a disciple, then one of the disciples would enter the main hall to report to the master and the ancestors that someone wants to become a disciple. Then the disciple shall listen respectfully to the rules and regulation of the academy. When the master agrees to take the person as a disciple, the disciple will perform a ceremony to show their respect to the master. And only after this traditional ceremony is completed, they will be officially admitted as a disciple. After listening to the story, I realized how difficult it is to have a great master, and it is one of the greatest joy in life. Fortunately, I was able to become a disciple of Shifu shortly after I was born. So I had the chance of growing up in Taijimen. I majored in marketing in college. If I had to describe marketing in one sentence, it would be tell a good story to promote your product. A brand's image, visuals, culture, etc. all part of the story. But most people do marketing to sell products and make money. But in Taijimen, we aim to promote Taijimen culture and the health of the body, mind, and spirit of people. Therefore, we want to convey the culture of Qigong, martial arts and practice, and the wisdom of yin and yang to help people live better and more fulfilling lives. Cultural performances, sharing events, and New Year's cards sent by Shifu to the people are all sorts of ways that we want to express our well wishes to the world. We hope not only to introduce people to Taijimen, but also inspire everyone to be kind and do good deeds. I now work at a digital media agency. One time, Shifu asked us, what is advertising? He said, advertising is to tell the masses widely. And what a clever answer. Shifu is always like a pioneer, leading us to promote good cultural values around the world. Last year, I participated in the global prayer ceremony for love and peace on October 16th and took practice of 4 performances: peacock dance, feather fan dance, angel, and the sword dance. The peacock dance embodies the spirit of ingesting all kinds of poison and emitting fragrance, reminding us not to get angry in life and try to turn hostility into good energy and spread positivity. The feather dance originated from the royals of the Chinese imperial court and is said to bring peace and blessings to the world. The angel dance symbolizes a messenger from heaven trying to spread the love and warmth to the earth. The sword dance encourages us to be brave and steadfast in upholding justice and speaking out against wrongdoing. It was not easy to switch between those 4 performances, which each of it has its own unique meaning. And I had the responsibility for confidently sending out the spirit and energy for each performance on stage. And to my surprise, I also find myself becoming more soft-hearted and courageous in my daily life. As the saying goes, a state has its own laws and a family has its own rules. 弟子 are instructed upon entry that martial arts are only meant to serve the world and help people, not to be used for recklessness or showing off one's skill. In recent years, the issue of human rights violations by public power has become more increasingly severe. Shifu teaches us to discern right from wrong and to bravely speak out to help reform the country in the face of injustice by those in power. When corrupt officials disregard the gifts 弟子 give to Shifu as a cultural heritage, mislead the public by imposing taxes on Taijimen in the name of cram schools, and even illegally seize our academy, all the hearts of 弟子 bleed. For this reason, we have the courage to travel 5 continents to reveal the truth to the world so that the culture of goodness can be widely spread. We also hope that there will be no more injustice in society, especially when Taiwan has worked so hard to establish democracy and freedom of human rights, which should not be trampled by corrupt officials. On this International Day of Zero Discrimination Day, I am very happy to share the culture of Taijimen with you all. I sincerely hope that everyone can live a joyful life, do good deeds with conscience, also respect one another with love and kindness to eliminate discrimination, correct justice, and spread love and peace culture for a better world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, April, for your very passionate presentation about your personal experience with Taijimen. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. We are not yet done because we now have some conclusions, and I'm very glad to pass the floor on to my friend, human rights advocate and Deputy Director of Soteria International, Ms. Camelia Marin. Please, Camelia, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Alessandro. Thank you very much to all of you for being together today. And today on the Zero Discrimination Day, the respect for freedom of religion or belief is a subject of great importance for states and international institutions, as the violation of it deprives people of sacredness. We met today in this webinar sociologists, lawyers, human rights activists, spiritual practitioners, to bring on the agenda issues and challenges of the Taijimen spiritual community in Taiwan. We face nowadays a situation when different states are unable to deal with the matters pertaining to freedom of religion and belief, and thus produce unfair trials and convict innocent practitioners or spiritual movements. Several times we observed that state institutions directly conduct campaigns against spiritual movements. Discrimination, marginalization, stigmatization. These are some of the critical issues which, unfortunately, we find them in Taijimen case in Taiwan. Defamation campaigns, institutional blockades, police interventions, all seem to be coordinated and conducted in a centralized manner from high levels of state power. The biased way of handling such cases raises serious questions whether the fabricated files against spiritual movements are nothing but an orchestration to show to the public that the state institutions decide who and when will be punished or who has to pay, or who will be punished for the attempts to advocate and organize associations based on free thinking, awakening at the level of the consciousness, etc. Taijimen offers a support in helping several people understanding that only going to a superior level, guided by love and conscience, can become happy and fulfilled for their lives. Unfortunately, as our speakers shared today, Taijimen community suffers since December 1996, when prosecutor Hu accused Taijimen and Dr. Hong of tax evasion. And the discrimination started. Hundreds of armed police officers searched the Taijimen Qigong Academy premises, as well the private residences, as well they were arresting Dr. Hong, and so on. Studying Taijimen case, we can wonder if Taiwan is a democratic country respecting human rights. We had the opportunity to hear today enlarging perspectives on human rights and especially about discrimination, materials presented by Willy Fautré, by Marco Respinti, Massimo Introvine, Alessandro Micarelli. They mentioned different cases from different countries, which make us see again, unfortunately, that discrimination exists also in the very democratic countries. I just wonder, can it be that Taiwan tolerates such abuses just because other countries also does it? We heard also some testimonies from people who were and are suffering and having consequences for their beliefs. And it was impressive to listen again the Dizzy who expressed from their experience, from their lives, how this impact of the state institutions abusing the human rights of Taijimen community affected their private lives. And for example, Mrs. Ting, she was just expressing to us again how the prosecutor who used the name of the religious crackdown as a pretext to purge Taijimen and disclose false information to the media, resulting in more than 400 consecutive false news reports, more than 70 broadcasts on 12 TV national stations, causing the public to have a negative perception of Taijimen, and so on. And this continued because actually, as we heard also from Mrs. Annie Lu, several Dizzy were discriminated against by relatives, by friends, and the general public at the time. And this also led people who wanted to practice Qigong to believe that actually it's something that they cannot dare to enter, a community where they were afraid to join. And it is a big question mark how actually the Taiwanese authorities tried to correct all this and to stand for the human rights of their citizens. And it was an expression that Mrs. Vivili had, that the government not governing in good faith, which actually also the officials in Taiwan not executing their duties in good faith. This is something that we see all around, and it's the biased way in which the authorities, they just decide how to interpret the laws sometimes, instead of just respecting always the correctitude and the truth. And Mr. Sam Cho was referring to fabricated discrimination, which actually in the particular case of Taiji men was severely applied in seizing their assets and seizing the buildings of the community and so on, just based on the red envelopes story, which actually this never happened in Taiwan on other spiritual groups except Taiji men. And this is a big question mark. Why exactly this organization was so much triggered? And to me, is rising the question, is it connected with the fact that Dr. Hong and the entire community goes for the awakening of the consciousness and just, let's say, rising the level for everybody? It's a question. And we can say, concluding this webinar, that we address again to Taiwanese authorities the concern on this case. Please take a look on the Taiji men case and stop the discrimination and human rights abuses, which started in 1996 and which unfortunately are still ongoing. How that the state persecute those people that actually should be protected by the state. Taiji men leaders, members, community should be respected and protected in their human rights in Taiwan. And in the end of our webinar, we will have a video, a song of prayer addressed by Dizzy for the good of, let's say, of everybody. Thank you very much to all with this.
May this illuminate our inner light, calm our heart and pray for the world. May heaven have mercy on its children and allow them to return to the arms of love. Put down the weapon of hatred while praying sincerely for the world.
a beautiful song.
Yeah, thank you.
Beautiful
Perfectly in
prayer.
time also. 3 o'clock London time, 11 p.m. Taiwan time. We finished exactly on dot.
Yes.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you also.